Now I have lied because I did say last year that this would be a no dig bed. However, because I messed up, didn't cover it over the winter, it had a load of grass in it. So unfortunately what I've had to do is be quite aggressive and dig out the grass. Doesn't really matter, it's not terrible, but it just means that this section at the very least isn't no dig. I've got a couple of pots left over from the garden last year that we grew sunflowers in that I'm going to shake out the roots of, and I'm going to scatter the compost along here, and I'm going to start sowing some broad beans. I've also brought peas with me that I'll find a bed to put in, and I've also brought some leek seeds up that I'll put over near the garlic somewhere. But that's the plan. It's going to be quite a short one. I just thought I would extend onto yesterday's video of the guttering on the polytunnel, and I would just show you what I was going to do with the seeds. However, now I mention that, let me show you. Right, so it survived the night, and as you can see, it has been raining, but I did notice when I got here that it was leaking from down here. So I've used some electrical tape that I had in the car, and I've attached it around here, and then now it seems to be collecting. There are a few drips down here that I've noticed, but that doesn't seem too terrible, and if need be, what I'll do is I'll tape that up as well. But yeah, it survived. I have also ordered another roll of tape. So what I'll do when that tape comes is I'll just aggressively attach loads of tape to that tape that's there in long runs. I'm thinking long, smooth strips to get rid of all these joins, all these lumps and bumps, and just make that a better attachment. But it's working, it's doing the job for now. I can see that there is water in there. It has been running off, and just by the nature that this is dripping, at the very least water is making it this far, and I'll probably tape that before I go. So as I mentioned, this is the bed that I'm going to get the broad beans sown in today. I may even decide to put peas in there. I'm not 100% sure. It depends how big I plan on my French bean section being and my runner bean section being. But it may make sense that I put some peas down here. I may just put some peas here and some peas over the other side. What I'm thinking is peas along there. Now, so I said yesterday that peas are not keen on sun. It's not sun that they're not keen on. Apparently it's heat. So that is a shadier bed, and it will be a shadier bed for the peas to last longer into the summer. But it wouldn't actually be a problem once the chance of frosts have subsided, that I get some peas sown into this bed for an earlier start through the spring and early summer. And it will only mean that come late summer that I will need a bed such as a cooler bed like that if I want peas to survive a little bit longer. But we're talking maybe a month, if anything. I'm also thinking next to the garlic over the back there, that's where I've put the garlic, I'm thinking leek is going to go into that bed there. So I've got about 50 seeds, but once I've decided the spacings, I'll put them in there. I've also got to account for onions and spring onions. However, you know, there is plenty of room. Like this bed along here I haven't actually accounted for, because there was supposed to be a currant bush that was going to go at the front there, but I've actually opted to put both the currant bushes in there. And I've also got that back bed alongside these two new beds that I also haven't decided what I'm going to grow in. So there is at the moment plenty of choice and plenty of options available to me. That will dissipate very quickly, but for now choice remains. So because I'm not familiar with broad beans, what I've opted to do is I've done 8 holes in about 10 inches apart along the front here, and then I've bricked some holes back here for peas that I'm going to drop in along the back there. So I'm just going to use this fence that's originally here, so I don't have to put anything else down. I could just use the fence for the peas to grow up, and then the broad beans along the front there, and hopefully that'll suffice. And if you look, the broad bean has what they call like a little bum, and these need to be put onto their sides in the holes. So the holes are about 2 inches deep. Just push them in and cover them over. And same with the peas, but this time they're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep. Probably about 1 inch there. And normally at home I would soak these overnight, but because I'm not going to be here for a few days, I've opted not to do that, and I'm just going to drop them straight in. So there we have it, peas along the back and the broad beans along the front. I've put the canes over the top more as a visual reference than anything else, but it just means that, you know, if the kids are up here, I can tell them where the bamboo canes are, you know, don't walk there, and it's just easier for me to explain where things have been planted, and also so I know how far they go up to. So I've also noted that that post there is as far as I've planted the peas and the broad beans, so I know anything beyond that that's maybe growing up as a weed or something else isn't going to be something that I've planted. So it just makes sense to do it that way. What I'm going to do is put the rest of that cardboard down up to the end of that bed right there, fold it back, and then maybe some of the cardboard that I've pulled off of here I'll add somewhere else. I think there's a patch of grass that grows up underneath that isn't quite covered, so I'll get some cardboard along there. But for now, that is it as far as peas and broad beans are concerned. All I have to do now is empty an area over here. I'm thinking I may clear an area about double the size of where I put the garlic and put the leeks in there, and maybe I'll put the onions somewhere else. But already I'm sensing that things are being pushed out of my original plans and they're starting to be moved elsewhere. But it's alright, I didn't expect to have the beds in the middle this soon, so there is options. How many options we're going to have available to us over time, I'm not sure, but for now there are options. So in typical British weather style, 5 minutes ago it was grey, showery, and it looked like it was going to stay that way, but now the sun's come out, blue skies are out, and it's beautiful. I've cleared this bed and I'm going to start sowing some leek seeds in here. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I'll literally prick a load of holes, probably about an inch, 2 inches apart, and I'll just drop a seed in each one. So let's get on and I'll talk you through it. So as I say, I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I've got a pack of seeds here. I think these are going to be tiny. I've never seen a leek seed, but I've got a funny feeling they're going to be tiny little things. So I've got a plate and they're black. I don't think there's 50 in there, but it doesn't really matter. So what I'll do is I'll go through, prick some holes, put my glove on so I can lean on the soil, and then I'll just go through and I'll prick some holes for some leeks. Now, I'm not 100% sure on depth, but I did read somewhere that apparently a seed only needs to be planted double its depth. So let's say, for example, you've got a 1 centimetre seed, it only needs to go 2 centimetres deep. I'm not going to follow that strictly. I am going to put these a little bit deeper in the ground because it is going to be quite cold over the next few days, and I'm not certain how well they do in cold temperatures. I know they are a lot more cold tolerant than some seeds, which is why I'm planting them now, but I'm not sure how tolerant or how that will affect. So I'm just gonna play it by ear and just do them a little bit deeper, probably about 3 or 4 centimeters, and then drop them in these holes. Now I did read again that apparently they're supposed to only be 2 inches apart, so I'm going to go for slightly more than that with wider channels. I'm not doing channels because these are not long beds. I'm just going to put them in like a checker system because I can reach at the back of these beds, so I don't need to, this isn't a farm, I don't need to get access to them up paths. So I've just pricked a load of random holes, and I'm just going to take a single seed and drop it into each of these holes. Now I am probably going to miss 1 or 2 simply because I'm having to look down at the seeds and then also remember what hole I did. But let's see if I don't manage to miss any.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So I'm going to put my dibber there so I know where my leek seeds are. They actually haven't covered as much space as I originally anticipated, so that's worked out well. So I'm just going to cover these all over, just like that, and then we will see how we get on. So last but not least, I have some purple Blauwschock seeds that I'm going to sow in these root trainers. So I want to grow in the garden a child-friendly teepee. So what I'm going to do is I have these Blauwschock peas that grow tall, and also they're striking purple, bluey sort of purple colour, and I want to grow them into a teepee around bamboo canes so the kids can essentially play in a teepee. So literally all I'll do is I'll fill this root trainer. So this is an excellent little gadget. It allows me to grow peas that don't like their roots to be disturbed too much in these tall long pods, and I believe, I haven't used it before, but I believe if you push this down it will actually eject them. I haven't tried it. Maybe if I give it a go now. So yeah, as you can see, it ejects them. So at a later date when I'm ready, all I've got to do is push the gadget down. It hasn't ejected them all, but they're not compressed in there, and it will eject all of the peas in their respective holes, and it just allows for less disturbance. So I think this is an excellent little gadget for peas that are renowned for not liking their roots to be disturbed too much. And again, I believe that the lid can be pressed onto the top of the pods, and also gives us a little void. I don't know how useful that is. I'll probably go and get my dibber actually. So yeah, I've got my dibber. All I'll do is I'll go around and just make sure all these holes are deep enough for the peas. And I'll take my peas. They even look a shade of purple, almost like a browny mauvey colour. And I'll just push the peas into each of the holes, probably about 2 centimeters deep. And all I'll do is cover them over with a light bit of compost again, and then I'll give them a water in once I get home, because these ain't going to stay down here. These will come back with me and I'll watch them at home. As you can see, it's quite brittle, and in the process of pushing them down I've managed to break the sides, but this was given to me on free cycle and I'm guessing it's been kept outside, but it's not the end of the world. It will do the job, and yeah, cool little gadget if you can keep the plastic inside or out of the sun, because the UV from the sun tends to break up clear plastics like this. I don't do too well with clear plastics in the sun. And that's everything for today's episode. It's been a busy couple of days down the allotment. It probably only accounts for 3 or 4 hours, but in that space of time I've managed to get the guttering sorted and into the water butts. That is a great weight off my shoulders. Finally we've got some sort of resource for collecting water, and also I've managed to get more seeds started and sown into the ground. So it's actually been a really constructive few days. I'm not actually going to make it down to the allotment for the next week or so, so any episode you see next will be around a week from now. So hopefully in that space of time we may actually see some signs of things growing, seedlings starting to sprout and show their first leaves, whether that be at home or down the allotment, and things will start to move quite quickly quite soon. So as always, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated too, and let's grow together.